Tea time. Tea time with Keith Preston. Time for some tea. Not really. It's not real tea. It's not anything. I something happened in the student center group chat, and I feel like I need to address it because I was convicted about it actually. And just to clarify, for those of you who were in support of my decision to do what I did, thank you. And I don't regret doing it. I regret how I did it. So don't feel bad about, like, I'm not trying to convict you about, like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Like, yeah, we still should have probably. It's just I didn't handle it the way that I should have. So, David Easter, I'm fairly certain he'll let me say this because, like, we talked about it, like, over text, and, like, he actually said this. So he's been a big troll in our group chat. And I was about to leave the group chat, and then I texted somebody about it, and I was like, so should I leave or whatever? And and they responded with, like, well, actually, I was like, they're like, can I guess who it is? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, is it David Easter? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, why? How did you know that? And they were like, because they're being a nuisance. And I was like, okay. And they were like, I mean, we could just, like, kick him from the group. And I was like, whoa. I mean, I kind of wanted to. I'm just not an admin. And also, like, you know, I didn't know how many people are in support of that. And they were like, there's a lot of people. And I was like, okay. I'm not going to give their names, by the way, to the people who I talked to. But I just wanted to say, and even after the MAC, the people who supported me and were like, thanks. That needed to happen, whatever. But I will say David Easter's name because it's obvious that it happened to him, and also because we talked about it over text. So they made me an admin, and then I removed David Easter from the group. And then I deleted myself as admin. Easy as that, right? Done. Simple decision. Felt okay about it afterwards. I didn't feel like I was a hero or anything. I just felt I was at peace. Except David texted me later and was like, hey, did I do something to offend you? And I was like, I mean, yeah, you're, like, I've told you this before. You've been pretty abrasive. You've been kind of, like, very staunch about a lot of the beliefs that you hold, and, like, very in opposition to a lot of the stuff that is going on in that group chat, and you're kind of being a troll. And he was like, yeah, you've just never told me that before. And I was like, I believe that I did. And I do remember doing that. I'm not saying that didn't happen. What I am saying is, afterwards, and we had this long kind of conversation, and he mentioned something that was really, it just stabbed me right in the soul. He punched my soul in the face. It was so heartbreaking that I did this. He said, it was just so strange to see someone who preaches compassion be so non-compassionate. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm so horrible. Like, that, I was so convicting. It wasn't shame, it was conviction. Because I clearly hadn't handled that situation the way I should have. You know what I should have done? I should have texted him and been like, hey, you're kind of being a troll. You should stop. And if he didn't stop, then I would have been like, hey, I'm gonna remove you. Or at least I should have said, hey, I'm gonna remove you because I've talked to a lot of people about it and we kind of want it to happen. And he said he would have understood if that happened, but I never talked to him about it. And I was like, whoa, that sucks. Like, you're so right. And I texted him, I said, thank you, that's actually very convicting. And he thought I was being sarcastic. I was like, no, I'm serious. And so I wanted to take this moment to reflect on what conviction is. And the way that I knew that it was conviction. See, I've thought about it a lot over the summer, and like I guess this past semesters, because there have been things that I were offended about but not convicted for, and then things that I was convicted but I didn't feel any offense. And I think a way that you can separate offense from conviction is if your emotions get offended versus if your soul gets offended. If the Holy Spirit offends you, then that's conviction. Because you clearly have something wrong and the Holy Spirit is telling you to do something. So through David, I was convicted because I was preaching compassion and then I did not act out on it at all. I was like very neglecting. I didn't text him about it. I feel really bad about it. I've already apologized to him, and I'll do it again. David, I'm really sorry. I love you like a brother, and I did not want it to go down like this. What I will say, though, is like when I was convicted about it, again, it didn't change the fact that I like did what I thought was right. It was just like, Keith, you should have handled this a little differently. For someone who preaches compassion and to be so non-compassionate, I was like, ugh, why'd you just have to hit me right in the soul? Like, that sucked to hear, but it was also super necessary, and I took that. I haven't been always the best at that, taking conviction. I remember in high school, I had a friend, Tyler Heileman, one of the best friends that I've ever had. Super awesome role model. I love you, Tyler. You're amazing. He, whenever the conversation of like pornography would come up, or even just like masturbation would come up, like in the percussion group that we were in, I would always be so like easily swayed on that stuff. Like, no, it's fine. It's totally okay. You know, like it's whatever. Don't worry about it. You know, and then he would always be on the end of the table with me, and he'd just look at me and just go, and he'd just eat his lunch. And I was like, oh gosh, that hurt a lot. And I remember because I, like my senior year when I got saved, and I would continue to talk to him about this kind of stuff, he was just still so dead set. Like, he's just such a solid guy, and he always knew what the right thing to do was. And I, like, not to say that he was perfect, but he was so good at being principled, and I respect the crap out of him for it. He was so cool, and I wish that I was more like Tyler Heileman. So this one, I said be more compassionate and be more empathetic. This is be more like Tyler Heileman. When you preach compassion, actually be compassionate. When you feel that something is a sin, actually say it's a sin, and don't just like wade through it and be like, oh, well, there's a gray area there. Like, no. If you believe it's a sin, say it's a sin. Give support for it, obviously. And, like, you know, don't just believe something just because you do. But, if you think something's wrong, don't do it. And I think that being non-compassionate is wrong, but I did it. And I'm really sorry, David. I hope you accept this apology. And to my friends who are in the group chat, I'm sorry as well for how I handled that. I should have handled it better. And I would like to be a better example of how Christ acted. 4 days. 4 days, dude. I'm so excited. I don't know if you can see. I've got like my stuff like packed and ready. I'm still like, I'm working on like this stuff. I don't know how I'm going to take this bad boy because I don't have a guitar case. I just realized that when I was talking to Nat recently. I was like, oh shoot, I don't have a guitar case. And they're almost all sold out like everywhere. And so I need to find one. But yeah. I'm excited to see you guys. I really hope that things are going well and that you're making it through. But peace out. I'll see some of you Friday and the rest of you Saturday.